I came across a picture of this really cool table where the base is made up of 3 pieces that lock together. In this picture, it actually shows the joinery that's used to make this, but for the life of me, I cannot figure out how these pieces would lock together like that. So I'm going to try to recreate this joint to see how it all works. So just by drawing it out on paper here, I can see that we're working in thirds here. So I'm going to mill up this piece of poplar to be 3 times as wide as it is thick. The poplar is 3/4 inches thick, so I will rip it to 2 1/4 inches. I'm going to assume that length does not matter here, so I'm just going to split this board up into 3 equal pieces. To make this easier to see, I'm just going to mark everything out with some tape. First, I'll find the center of the boards this way, and then the center this way, just to make some reference lines for everything. Let's see if this is set correctly. I'll mark from one edge, and then the other edge, and if those 2 lines meet, no, this needs to be a little bit bigger. Finally. All right, so now I have the center. I'll just mark a line down the center on all the boards. Now I'll find the center this way, and I'll use this center finding rule. It's easy to use. Just like on the original picture that I'm basing this off of, I'm going to chamfer the edges of all the pieces. And that is what's going to create that point part of the joint over there. I'm not sure that I want to do that just yet to all the pieces, because I think that I still want square edges for referencing, for marking and measuring and things like that. So I am going to make the chamfers on a scrap piece that I milled to be the same width as all of these work pieces. I'm just going to assume that it's a 45-degree chamfer. It maybe could be a different angle, but we'll just go with this one. So I'll take shallow passes on either side, and I'll keep raising the bit until it meets in the middle. Now the edges have this chamfer or bevel on either end, and I probably should have made a center line on the face of this before I did that, but easy fix. I could just line up these pieces so that the edges are flush and continue the center line from this piece over onto the yoke. Now to make the layout lines, I have to take that center line that I just drew out on the bottom there and line that up with the center line going this way on the board, and mark up the points on the edge here with the center line that's going along the length of the board. Now, because these pieces are 3 times as wide as they are thick, I can actually use one of the actual work pieces to make sure that it's square, because this is really divided into thirds. If I sandwich it in there, I now know that this piece is centered on the middle of this board going lengthwise. I'll take a marking knife, put some firm pressure on the top of this piece here, and mark it out. Now I'm just going to cut away at the tape. Now the next piece is going to be the same, except there's going to be an opening on the edge here. That's the thickness of one of the pieces. So first I'll do the same thing. I'll mark out the main shape. Using a chin clamp is very helpful. I marked half the thickness of the pieces on the end over here, and I'll line that up onto the center line that I drew out on the piece. And I'll use a square to make sure that it's square, and I'll cut up until the end here. Now without moving the piece, I moved it. Put the square back into place. It's on the center line. Good. I'll mark the other side. The last piece is very similar to one that I just cut, except it looks like this top portion is not going to be cut away. So I'll mark out the opening first on this one. And now I'll only mark out the front part of this. I'm not going to go past that line that I just made going across the width of the wood. I'm going to use a Forstner bit to hog out the majority of the material. And to make sure that the center point of the Forstner bit is always going into the center of this piece, I'm going to mark a line in the center here with an awl using the combination square that's already set to half the width of these pieces. I just got a brand new set of Forstner bits. Sometimes when you open a new box of metal tools, they'll feel a little bit sticky from the shipping grease. And if I take this shop rag and give it a wipe, you'll see how much of this residue comes off. A common way to remove the shipping grease is to use mineral spirits or naphtha, but I really don't want to put on my PPE to clean off the grease on these bits. So I'm going to use WD-40 Specialist Industrial Strength Cleaner and Degreaser. Simply spray on your bits, and after the solution soaks for a few minutes, just remove it with a shop rag. No more sticky mess. I love using products like this, not only because it's strong enough to cut through all the grease, it's also safer for me, my children, and the environment. This is really great stuff, so thank you WD-40 for sponsoring this video. One thing to note about the Forstner bits, when you are milling up your material, you want to make sure that you have the same size Forstner bit as the thickness of the material that you have. So this is 3/4 inch thick material, so I will use a 3/4 inch Forstner bit to hog out the holes in the middle. All right, so I'm having a dilemma now. So the next step would be to clean up all of this with a chisel, but before doing that, I was thinking that I was going to clean up this opening over here on the crosscut sled at the table saw. But then I was thinking that if I want to make the chamfers on the edges, that might be a little bit difficult to do with a cutout over here. I might get some tear out on like the end over here. So I think I'm going to chamfer all the edges now. Actually, before doing that, I need to make sure that I mark the opening here onto the opposite side for chiseling. So I set my marking gauge to the thickness from where that tape starts, and I'll mark on the other edge over here, just so that I have a guide for my chisel on the back faces. All right, now I can chamfer the edges. So because I added the chamfer already, the line that I was going to use for the reference on the table saw got cut away. So I will just add it now onto the angle, making sure that this is lined up. All right. And I'll do it to the second side. Now I'll take that cut line, line it up on the curve of my sled, adjust the stop block so I can make the same cut on the other piece. Oh, you know what? I'll actually raise the blade so that it's touching the top over here. So that's going to create a good corner in there. Ooh, yeah, good idea. Now I'll do the same thing for the other side. Adjust the stop block again. Make the cuts. If I did this correctly, this piece should slide into this slot right here. There we go. Awesome. So I just realized that I made my life a little bit difficult by chamfering the edges. If I would have rounded over the edges, I would basically be done by this point, because all I would need to do would be to clean up these pointy parts that were left over from the Forstner bit, because the edges would already be rounded off to match the radius of that Forstner bit. So note to self, if I'm going to make a project using this joint, I would definitely round over the edges instead of adding the chamfers, even though they look really cool. I'll start with a wider chisel and work on the flat parts over here. The green tape was so helpful. I'm actually not going to go all the way down because I'm going to come back on the other side so that it looks cleaner. So it all looks nice and clean on the top. I'll come back through on the other side. Ooh, or not. Forgot to make the lines for the points on the other side. So I'll just clean up this edge from this side. All right, I'll just go all the way through here. Oh, check out how that's slicing through the end grain. So satisfying. These are the Wood River chisels from Woodcraft. You can check them out down below. Love these chisels. It's a little tight. Oh, is that a satisfying sound or what? On to the next one. And now the last one. I really wish that I had marked the angles on the other side of these pieces. They're gonna be a little gappy. To make it look more like the picture, I'll round off all of the ends. All right, moment of truth. Let's see how this goes together. I have no idea how this is going to work. All right. I think this goes in here. Okay. Oh, no. Okay. Nope. All right, this one goes in here. Ooh, it's a really tight joint. Awesome. Okay. And now this has to go on here. Oh wait, no, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to put this in here. Yeah, okay. Slide, no. Slide this back. No. Oh, maybe, okay, yeah. So maybe if I line this up, that creates a gap for something to go in there. All right. Oh yeah, I think I figured it out. Okay. So this is gonna slide through here, and this piece is going to go into there. You'll see. All right, yeah. So this slides in here, and now this piece pushes down. Oh! How cool is that? This is a super tight joint. Even without any glue in here, if I had some sort of heavy tabletop on there, the joint is like just crazy strong how it locks into each other. All right, so let's see if I can take it apart. There was like that piece that slid. Where was that one? Ah, there we go. Oh, this. No. Oh, this piece slides. Okay. Whew. There we go. Okay. So that's basically the gist of it, how it works. This piece over here, it slides. Do you see that? It slides out of the way when you line it up here in order for this one to slide in, and then you lock it into place like that. That was super fun. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to WD-40 and Woodcraft for sponsoring this video. I am going to go bring this inside and mess with my kids and see if they can figure it out. Come, you guys want to figure out the puzzle? So this is what it should look like. Okay?
Wait, I think I know.
Wait, let me take it apart. So close.
Oh, this is it.
No, it's not.
Right?
Yay. No.
Like that?
Nope. You want me to try to put it together and you try to take it apart? And then you can maybe see how it goes?
Oh.
I see it. That moved. Oh, this is... Hey, what? I'm smart.
She did it! Girls rule!